Hello and welcome to TBC Central. My name is Nancy. I am your host for today. I bring awareness, or I hope to bring people awareness of different groups of people and interests, well, not necessarily interests, events that affect people's living standards, and kind of like put them like homeless or below poverty or something like that. So today we are discovering a video. We're going to watch a video called Nepal After the Earthquake. So here we go.
It was the worst earthquake to hit Nepal in 80 years. Buildings crumbled, whole families wiped out. When the earth stopped shaking, more than 8,000 people were dead. Hundreds of thousands homeless. I'm Steve Chow. On this episode of 101 East, we return to Nepal to see how the country is coping a year after one of its deadliest natural disasters.
This was Nepal 1 year ago. At an emergency medical camp, an endless stream of casualties, desperate for help. We met Udev Paudel here just days after a magnitude 7.8 earthquake had ripped through Nepal, leaving death and destruction in its wake. Udev's village was so isolated, it took him 4 hours to hobble home after his treatment. He told us how 10 precious seconds left him with a lifetime of regret.
10 सेकेन्ड चाहिँ के गरेर बस्यो भने अब त भुइँचालो त आयो अनि घर त हल्लाउन थाल्यो.
In those 10 seconds, when the house first started shaking, I never expected it would be so devastating.
सोचे पनि थिएन अब त्यो त थाहा नहुने कुरो नि भएन. अलिअलि हल्लिने थियो, हामी चाहिँ अब राम राम भनेर बस्यो.
We just huddled together with the children and prayed. I didn't think about running until it was too late. Those 10 seconds totally changed my life. Instead of praying, we could have escaped. It was my mistake.
By the time the ground stopped shaking, all the houses in his village had collapsed. Udev was buried up to his waist in rubble. His loved ones were nowhere to be seen. He spent the next 3 days digging out the bodies of his wife, 2 sons, and his grandmother.
Right here, there was a room. There was a cupboard just here. That cupboard. They were found underneath the cupboard.
Nowhere else was the devastation from Nepal's earthquake more severe than in the mountainous region of Sindupalchok. Those who died here made up more than half the overall death toll. Across the country, more than 8,000 people were killed and 900,000 homes destroyed. I'm back in Sindupalchok 1 year on. In some of the remote areas, it's like time has stood still since the 25th of April 2015. Driving down the same roads, I still see plenty of rubble where the villagers used to be. Now and then there are some makeshift houses that the people have built just to have a temporary shelter over their heads. I'm really keen to meet the people I came across last year, just to see how they're coping. I wonder how Udev Powdal is today. When we get to his village, we hear that he and his other surviving family members are no longer sleeping in tents. But it's not much better. We find them beside a makeshift shelter, cobbled together from pieces of wood and corrugated metal sheets. Namaste. Namaste. Hello, Udev. Udev and his mother are having their first meal of the day when I arrive at noon. They received $150 and some food from the government soon after the quake. It didn't last very long.
Everything is gone. People are gone. The house is gone. We're living in this temporary shelter. Problem is, I haven't died. It would be a relief if I were gone too. But what can I do, sir?
Some of the others have rebuilt their houses. We haven't been able to. We're in a lot of debt now, and you need money to start rebuilding. I really don't know what we're going to do.
They live here with his brother's family. Some belongings they rescued from the rubble are a stark reminder of better days.
Life was different before the earthquake. The family was complete. There was motivation to work. Now there isn't. But I must take care of my mother. That's what keeps me going.
Nepal's government has promised $2,000 for each affected family to build a new house. But a year after the quake, officials have only just started working out who's eligible. No one here has received a cent, and they may never get any money. The government insists all new homes must be earthquake resistant, but most villagers haven't been told what that means. They can't wait any longer. They've taken up loans to build the same kind of houses they used to live in, using what they salvaged from the rubble. Udev hasn't built anything. He's already in too much debt and can't take on another loan.
We took a bank loan with our land as collateral for my brother's wedding a few days before the earthquake. A few months later, my mother borrowed money to buy a buffalo for the farm. She said it would help us earn more money. We also needed money to treat my hand. The initial treatment at the emergency medical camp was free, but I had complications after the camp was gone. I had to pay for treatment at a private hospital.
For that, Udev took another loan from a microfinance company, where he works as a T-boy at 23% interest. He now owes a total of $7,000, a fortune in Nepal, and a debt that only keeps growing as the interest piles up.
My salary is $70 a month. I spend a quarter of it on food and save the rest for family needs. It's very tough to manage without debt. We had to borrow money from other people. They used to lend us some, but they've stopped. They don't have enough for themselves. People can only lend you money if they think you can pay them back. I'm trying to live my life, but when moneylenders come and scream at us, I don't really see the point of living. There's nothing to look forward to anyway. I don't want to suffer like this. I have lost so much.
Udev is thinking he may have to leave Nepal to be a migrant laborer, but his injured hand has nerve damage and is in constant pain. He's afraid it'll limit his job options.
Now my hand has a nerve problem. It hurts when I touch it, so I can't work very well. I need to go to a hospital.
But just finding healthcare is tough for many rural Nepalis. The earthquake damaged nearly 1,000 health facilities nationwide. The main public hospital in Sindhu Pauchuk, Chautara Hospital, is in no condition to provide advanced medical care. Most of it is still unsafe. It's been a year, yet the emergency ward and trauma counseling still operate out of tents.
This is the emergency, hospital emergency.
The doctor in charge says patients are suffering from the government's delay in reconstruction.
We cannot provide all the health services from the tents. So this is a problematic issue for us. So this the windy seasons, very shortly coming. So the tents may be broken at any time. This place is used for, labor rooms we have here.
Desperate times call for desperate measures. Dr. Sagar Rajbandari plans to move the tent facilities to this prefabricated building built by an NGO. It is currently used for outpatient treatment, which will move into what's left of the hospital building.
Isn't it dangerous to shift the operations over there?
We are not going to use the rooms inside the room, but we can use the lobby one, where we can start our outpatient departments. We can provide dressing, surgery also there.
Right, just make the best of whatever is available.
Yes. You can see the kitchen corridors.
Inside the damaged building, they're already improvising in any space they can find.
We didn't have safe place for the X-ray services, so right now we're using these kitchen corridors as an X-ray service. So you can see the dark room here using this plywood.
So there's still different parts of the same building that are too dangerous for you to work in?
Yes, of course. That's why we have we are working here.
Okay. So this part of the building is safe?
Yeah, this comparatively safe.
Dr. Sagar is frustrated. He wants the government to see the urgent need to rebuild the hospital.
The responsible persons living in the Ministry of Health, please pay attention for the reconstruction of the Chautara hospitals as early as possible. For your kind information, Chautara is one of the heavily devastated districts. Out of 80 health facilities, and only 5 health facilities are intact. So the government has to take care for the Sindhu Pauchuk.
Dr. Sagar is not the only doctor who is angry. Last year, we met one of Nepal's most prominent surgeons at the front line of the disaster. Dr. Govinda Casey's team of medics set up the emergency medical camp in Sindhu Pauchuk. They worked round the clock, treating the thousands of injured who flooded in. Today, he continues to see earthquake casualties back in his Kathmandu hospital. He is frustrated that those from remote areas, like this patient, can't get proper treatment because there still aren't enough health services where they're needed.
Many doctors suggested amputation, and I thought I can salvage his limb, and I did surgery, and now it's okay. It's almost normal, right? So, we saved his limb.
The law should ensure that good medical institutions be distributed evenly in cities as well as rural areas.
Dr. Casey has been fighting to reform the medical sector. He went on a series of hunger strikes last year. One of his demands to the government, free education for postgraduate medical students. In return, they must accept a posting in rural hospitals.
After 3 or 4 years, there will be specialists in every district for people who couldn't even get basic health care. That would be a major reform. We are determined to ensure there's a law for that.
Pressured by the overwhelming public support for Dr. Casey, the government has agreed to most of his demands. But is still worried. Some politicians with investments in medical colleges may oppose his reforms. Dr. Casey is again threatening to fast to death if they sabotage the agreement.
The medical sector is so commercialized. When they do as they like, without being systematic, they take away the rights of 30 million Nepalis to be healthy.
भूकम्पलाई हामी रोक्न
We
सक्छौँ
cannot stop another earthquake from happening, but we can neutralize the consequences, the destruction.
र अब अहिले पनि हामीले जुन गल्ती गर्यौँ
The mistake now is that reconstruction and recovery have hardly started.
The government was slow to act from day one. In the chaos of the early days, it was up to NGOs and locals to help.
Hello.
I met Jigme Sherpa, a teacher from Sindupalchuk.
Thank you.
A year ago, he was desperately rounding up emergency supplies for students' destroyed villages.
The basic needs of my concern right now. Are they eating well? Are they sleeping well?
For days, we followed Jigme and his friends as they made countless trips from the capital Kathmandu to these villages, braving aftershocks, landslides, and exhaustion.
So they are leaving right now?
They delivered emergency donations of food, clothes, tents, and medicine. For weeks, Jigme was haunted by survivor's guilt.
I feel very guilty to smile and I feel very guilty to be happy. I'm just the most angry person right now, you know. Inside, I'm just boring.
Jigme School was among the 8,000 in Nepal destroyed by the earthquake. A year on, most of the schools still barely function. His students now study in a flimsy structure made of bamboo and corrugated metal sheets.
Jigme!
Hey, good to see you again, man. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm doing well.
Yeah, it's really good to see Jigme again, and even better to see students still learning.
It's great that kids actually came back pretty soon.
Jigme had feared many would drop out when classes resumed 6 weeks after the quake.
Yeah, there were dropouts, but it was minimum. It was not as much as I thought there would be. They are coming to school and they are living their life, trying to live a life very normally.
And I guess being in school also takes their minds away from the problems being at home.
Yeah, being at home means they are living at temporary shelters. In summer, it's too hot there, and in winter, it's too cold, and they don't have good space there. So that means school is a safer place for them sometimes.
Jigme says the kids are still haunted by the terror of the earthquake and subsequent tremors.
Especially with small kids, they're really, like some of the kids are really traumatized. Like some kids even cry, she cries at every wind.
These classrooms, built by private donors and NGOs, don't keep the wind out. They were not made to last.
Sometimes the door breaks down, sometimes it's windows, and every time it has to be rebuilt. The floor of the rooms are muddy and dusty. We can easily hear disturbance outside of the class. It hampers their progress because at most of the time we have to stop at the middle and we just have to go outside and ask people not to make noise and ask all the students and all the students of the classes to just be quiet.
It's especially frustrating for the 10th graders. Their school leaving exams are in just a few weeks. They are taking extra classes to try and make up for time lost to the earthquake. I remember meeting this student, Rajan Giri, a year ago. With his village lying in ruins, Rajan was concerned about missing school.
नयाँ स्कुल बनाउन त वर्षौं लाग्छ त्यही स्कुललाई मिलाउन मिल्छ कि भनेर कुराहरु गरेको अब अरु क्लासहरुको लागि त मिलाउन मिल्छ हैन सर अब 10 क्लासको लागि चाहिँ अब बाहिर बसेर होइन पढ्नु पर्ने हुन्छ हैन र
But when school did resume, Rajan's attendance suffered. He had to focus on his family's survival.
My brothers, my father and I built a temporary shelter from the old frame of our collapsed house. We bought metal sheets and built the shelter together from scratch, from digging the ground to setting the roof.
They had to work quickly. For millions of Nepal's earthquake survivors left without proper shelter, winter was brutal. At least 6 people died from the cold in Sindhu Pauchuk alone.
It was a tough winter. The government was supposed to give us aid, $100 per family for warm clothes, but it came very late after the cold season. We had to endure extreme cold this winter.
Winter may be over, but other challenges remain. The earthquake severely affected the water table in the region. Groundwater has dried up. Every day, Rajan treks a long way to collect water so his family has enough to drink and cook with.
There are long queues here in the mornings and after 4 p.m. You have to wait 2 to 3 hours for your turn.
Rajan often has to miss classes as a result. And at night, power cuts caused by the quake make it hard for him to revise for his coming exams.
It is difficult when I have to study in a temporary shelter. I use a battery-powered light to see. If it runs out of battery, we light candles or lamps. It's noisy in the shelter when it rains or if it gets windy. I could study better in our old house.
With hardly any rebuilding by the government, the problems with water and power supply are a long way from easing.
Yeah, Rajan is actually just an example of the students of Sindhu Pauchuk. Most of them are facing the same problem as Rajan.
To help his students, Jin holds extra classes in his rented room for those about to sit their exams.
The village lacks those people who have succeeded by educating themselves. I want to create such examples for the future generation. That is a very motivating factor for me to actually be here in this village and work for them.
What do you think the government needs to do now?
Permanent structure for the school. That's important right now. You feel like you need to go in just to wake the government up.
We are about to leave this place with more questions and answers about the slow reconstruction and recovery since the earthquake hit. The problems are similar across the country. Someone has to answer for it, and we're going to put those questions to the top person in charge. It took Nepal's leaders months just to agree on who would head the National Reconstruction Body. That person is in charge of coordinating the government's efforts and spending the $4.1 billion international donors pledged after the quake. Political infighting delayed the appointment until last December. The man who finally got the job was Sushil Gawali. $4.1 billion. The obvious question is, why has it taken so long to do so little?
Certainly it is a long time from the perspective of the people, but if you look into the reconstruction authority itself, we have finalized the different bylaws that are needed, legal instruments that are needed for expediting the process.
How are you going to involve the other ministries in your work, bearing in mind that in the past they haven't been pulling together in the same direction?
When I talk with the senior political leaders of the different political parties, they have assured me and also the authority itself that they will be supporting for the reconstruction.
But it's been months since they promised a $2,000 grant for each family to build new houses. Most of the earthquake survivors have yet to see the money. The government says they'll only get it if they follow the new safety standards, but have yet to explain what those standards are to most people. Unable to wait any longer, many have started rebuilding anyway. Can you understand that people have become so frustrated and waiting so long for the grants to come that many of them have gone ahead to build their own houses without following the building codes?
It's not just the decision of the money. It is also to ensure the safe construction, because our country is the disaster area, so we have to ensure that if the houses are not safe, I think we have to tell the people the houses are not safe.
Yeah, the very reason the Kringle was also because of the delay by the government. So
now it's not in the plan, because now it will not be delayed. It has already started.
Is there a timeline that you can commit to?
End of 5 years, that certainly all the reconstruction tasks will be completed.
So you think it will take 5 years?
Certainly, the housing reconstruction, it has to be before 5 years.
If the various deadlines are not met, who does the buck stop you?
Certainly, I think we have to take the responsibility on that. There is no doubt.
There is no time to waste. With each passing day, people are losing faith in the government.
Do you think they've forgotten about you?
I think they have. You don't.
Is it frustrating to see that after a year, not much is being done?
It is more frustrating when you say that it will be done by at this particular amount of time, and they just keep on delaying things.
The government should have prioritized rebuilding houses. It should have been faster than construction. I know I have myself, but just how do I do it?
A year after the quake, the people of Nepal are struggling with not only a natural disaster, but a man-made one as well. In this earthquake-prone nation, we need the leaders to act quickly if Nepal is to rise from the rubble and take on the future.
Could you imagine that? Going through an earthquake is devastating enough. You lose everything, and you're promised to have money so you can reconstruct your house, but it takes the government over a year to figure out how to disperse the money and what the building codes are. Now, if they live already in a environmentally prone area of devastation, you would think that they would have all that in place already. May not be for the distribution of the money, but at least the building codes. So I'm finding it hard to believe that, you know, it's taken them so many months to get their act together. You know, they made all the interest on the money while they have the money, while they're holding it. They're sitting on it and holding it, and not releasing it to the poor people who need it. So anyway, you know, you guys, I created this channel to raise awareness for the people in need. Those people might include the homeless, runaways, the forgotten elderly, people that have been through a natural disaster, people living below poverty, drug users who are trying to get clean, etc. There are numerous people in so many categories which need to be brought to the forefront. If you have what you need to be grateful, as there are many that do not have. I'm not saying that the rich should support everyone, but I want to make it clear that with proper planning, education, and help with changing mindsets, we can make a difference. We will never eradicate the poor because, believe it or not, it's a big money maker for the governments. Just like Big Pharma will never release all the medication or treatments that would cure so many diseases because they would lose major profits in doing so. Why would they? My prayer for everyone is that God will provide everyone peace, love, abundance, health, happiness, and a good life. Be grateful for what you have. Have a blessed day. Catch you tomorrow. Ciao.